There she is.
Wrapped up?
Yep.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you all and joined by Brig Feltus, who is a current teacher, well, really in some ways always a teacher of mine, but currently a teacher of mine. She's also teaching the Heal Thyself course, a 6-week intensive for folks racialized as white who are also teachers, healers, coaches, wanting to be better allies for Black folks and Black people and people of color. And she's also going to be a guest teacher in my upcoming course, Sovereignty for Women, which is an initiatory container for women dropping into deeper truth and power within the body. And what is inspiring this conversation is Bridge and I were on a call last week, one of my coaching calls with her, and I was just sharing with her about the discomfort that was arising in opening enrollment for this container, and just really wanting to be in deeper truth and relationship with what that discomfort was and is. And she suggested, to my delight and discomfort, that we do a Facebook Live video conversation on this. And what I appreciate about you, Bridge, is I just have a deep trust from the for the location that you're coming from in your work, and why you're showing up and how. And it just feels so good that my nervous system feels like it can really relax and receive you, and also be called forward in powerful and uncomfortable ways. So just thank you for being here and being in the willingness to play here with me.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. And I just, right before we went live, I said to you, you're so much fun. It is really a pleasure also to be here and to be able to support you and the work that you're doing. And it's inspiring in both directions. So I really appreciate that a lot. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious about something.
Mm-hmm.
In the same sentence, you said that you feel safe and uncomfortable.
Mm. Would you like me to speak to that?
Say more.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you're just speaking earlier about how you don't believe safety exists. So when I utilize the word safety, suppose what I mean when I say safety is that I trust the lens through which you're perceiving reality. And I trust your care and your devotion, and that you are a trustworthy container to be seen in my vulnerability and
Mm,
unraveling,
mm.
which I think is a really valuable thing in this world.
I try. I do make an effort to be, well, I take that back, really. I don't make an effort to be safe. I do make an effort to be in integrity. And I think that that goes a long way for, in the ways that we can have some control over our environment. I really believe that's what safety is. It's feeling like we have some say in what's happening in our environment and in our exchanges with each other. And so I guess I do my best. I do practice being in integrity with myself and with the people I'm engaged with, so that I can show up authentically and open and conscious of the fact that I don't know everything. So I can actually know more from being open and not judgmental. So yeah,
Well,
it's a practice.
it is a practice, and it's a super important thing, because the other piece of that, the discomfort, feeling uncomfortable and being willing to feel uncomfortable is necessary
Mhm.
in this work. And it's also, to me, one of the most vulnerable places to be in discomfort, because at least this type of discomfort is being in the not knowing, like
Yeah.
being in this place where I actually don't have an immense amount of confidence in this location. This is a new location, and this is it's like a soft shell crab almost, you know.
I think quite often confidence is something that we drum up for ourselves over time. And the truth is, however much confidence you have, however much practice you have in your pocket, you're still a human being.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you can decrease the likelihood that you may make a mistake or that you might harm someone. You can decrease the likelihood that someone else can harm you. And ultimately, there's no real safety.
No.
And so if we allow safety to become the thing that defines our quality of life, the choices we make, the way that we think, um, it is relying on fear.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, I've been really like feeling into this relationship between power and humility.
Mm.
That as I feel myself in my own process opening to greater levels of what I would call spiritual power, of being a more grounded vessel for divinity to flow through me, to act through me, simultaneously, I find that coming back to humility is so important, because when more power comes in, it's like I notice that my ego can come in and start to become attached to what that means. And then with more power, there can also be even more fear of causing harm, or more fear of impact, or more fear of the repercussions.
Yeah, I
Like,
often think that sometimes confidence and what we call trust makes us a little sleepy, makes us a little less alert, a little less aware, which then decreases our ability to be dynamic. So if I am stuck in a program of how to be and where the boundaries are, then those are the limits of our interaction. So whatever's possible beyond that, it's not possible anymore. So when you're in relating with another human being, both people, if you want to actually expand in any way, it's okay if you're not. If we're just having a neutral exchange with each other, um, you can be comfortable. And yeah, there are people in my life who I have comfortable relationships with. We don't rock the boat too much, for good reason. You know, you set those kind of boundaries for yourself. And then there are relationships in my life that are all about my expansion, their expansion. And so we're constantly pushing the boundaries and allowing ourselves to get uncomfortable. I have a couple of friends who, whenever I know that I'm feeling like a high level of fear or anxiety, I have people in my life who I will out myself to. I just let them see the crazy. And I didn't, oh, I just let them see the crazy so that um, I'm not holding it in me and then building up walls around me. And then I can't do the work that I'm here to do because I'm trying to protect myself.
yeah, that's I really relate with that, and I feel like that's one of the reasons that I appreciate our work together, is when, with me, when I'm getting caught in fear, I feel like ultimately it's because I was just saying to you earlier that I'm not trusting the intuitive knowing
Yeah.
that when I'm in my practices, um, you know, or just the moments where I'm in it, it's like, regardless of what's going on in the world, I'm trusting the deeper thing. And
I'm pretty extreme with it. So for me, I go as far as saying what's the worst thing that could happen? And if that thing happens, can I survive it? Can I pick myself back up, learn from it, and keep moving? And so if the answer is yes, then I'm going to do whatever I can to prevent whatever is predictably going to go wrong. And then I let it go.
See, that's gorgeous. And to me, that's been one of the main things that I'm grappling with, because it's a release of pride. Or at least the egoic form of pride, the release of, I must be perceived in a certain way. There are certain external things that determine my safety, my valuability.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get caught in those locations, it's torment. It's absolute torture.
Yeah. Well, if you could just for a moment stretch your mind a little bit and imagine being born into the world with brown skin, and how for the entirety of your life you live in a society that's under its skin, most definitely about white supremacy. And on its surface, in many ways, it's about white supremacy. And even if, in my case, I grew up with some level of privilege, there's still this awareness that people see you as less, just automatically, just when you walk in the room. And so, if I open my mouth and I say I was born in Compton, California, there's another layer. And so this is it's not something I think about, because if I thought about it all the time, it would be, I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would just, I don't even know what I would do. Yeah. But it is there. I know it's there. And as a young person, you have to quickly learn how to not give a shit what people think.
Yeah.
Not because they can't impact you. Of course they can impact you. That's another thing, by the way. When we tell people, we have to be careful about telling people that they create their own reality alone. We are co-creating. We're co-creating with each other. We're co-creating with the universe. Whatever is creating the whole thing, we're co-creating with that.
Yeah.
So it's a little more complex.
I felt that just before you made that statement about consider, being a person who was born into this world with brown skin or black skin. And I was feeling that even before you said that there's been a protection
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced, a fragility, because there's been certain privileges that have been afforded to me where my resilience has not had to be tested.
Yeah, in a society also that is built on pretense. So you're not really taught the value of authenticity and honesty. It's about being nice and being friendly and being soft and being safe, being comfortable for people to be around, being pleasant, especially if you're a woman. For women, don't raise your voice, don't take up too much space. So we have all of that conditioning from hundreds and hundreds of years, generation after generation, even with the most feminist women are in our lives. If you are a feminist, you're actually still defined by a society that is patriarchal.
I mean, I feel like regardless of what you identify as, if you exist within a system that has a conditioning over a period of time, that energetic blueprint exists within us. And to me, that can create even more torture, because we have the conscious idea of who we are and who we believe ourselves to be, and that is free and whatever it is, the free, independent, empowered, and
Yeah.
yet simultaneously there's this deeper cage, which there could be so much shame around that.
And I feel, oh, let me turn that down, getting feedback. I feel like we're not taught to respect nature in general, our own nature, the nature of other human beings, the nature of the rest of the planet. And because of that foundational miseducation, we don't understand ourselves well enough to be comfortable and trust ourselves. We're just not understanding like why we behave the way we do, what motivates us, without slowing down and being educated around what's moving you, what's driving you, what is it you want, what do you desire, and is that really the thing you desire, or is it something beneath that you think that thing is going to give you? And if you're not clear about that, this is why when we've been talking about this course you're about to launch, I've asked you a couple of times, what is it you want from this? What is it that you intend from this? And you've been very clear about what that is. And so, and then the next thing I ask you is, are you willing to die for that?
If it came down to it, I suppose I would be.
Yeah. And that's huge. So then I mean, before you can really answer that question with some level of intelligence, you've got to ask yourself, what is this good for? Is it in alignment with what's true? Is it necessary in the world? Do people need this in order to evolve, in order to live and love in bigger and better ways, and ways that reduce harm and suffering in the world? Is it something that brings love and joy?
I believe so.
Yeah.
As you were talking, a couple of minutes ago about like just so many people being disconnected from nature, for like not being educated and not understanding. To me, so much of the disconnection from nature is because we're disconnected from our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been, in my opinion, just so incredibly painful. Like there's immense pleasure available in our ability to be human, but there's also so much pain and such a lack of education about the importance of being in relationship with that pain and our emotions and our sensitivity, that
Yes.
to fully opt into the body requires us to be with everything that we have been wounded by in the past and resist feeling because of the fear that it will overtake us, it will consume us. And what I see going on in the world right now is a whole bunch of ideas and perspectives being presented as truth,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole bunch of fear because no one actually knows what's true. And so many of us have become so disembodied as a coping mechanism for the pain of the world that we can't actually discern what we feel true to be true in the body. And
Yeah.
if we can't do that, then
Too much up here.
yeah, how do we move forward as human beings who care about each other because we're actually caring about ourselves?
Yeah. I feel like when we experience fear, it is a combination of two things. It's a combination of a memory of either something that's already happened to us or something we've witnessed happen to someone else, and a fantasy of what could go wrong in the future.
Mm. Mm.
It's an imagination of what can go wrong in the future. And I think if we just remember that, if we could just begin to slow down for just a few beats and actually recognize what we're feeling and where it's coming from, then we can make better choices.
That also requires belief in oneself. Because even if slow down and feel the pain from the past or the potential risk of the future, it's still possible that that might happen.
That's
And
right.
there's a need to trust ourselves, to be connected. I trust myself to take this risk because I'm connected to my intuition. I believe in something greater than myself. If I'm truly meant to die, then may it be a quick and easeful death.
Yeah, you're probably not going to die.
Exactly.
Most things, you're probably not going to die.
But the fear of death on some level, conscious or not, is a big one. So
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. And that also is conditioned into us because we live in violent societies. And, when you live in a violent society, whether you're conscious of it or not, violence is uh, a reality. It just is. Whether you are considering yourself nonviolent or not, almost every person who I've heard say that they're nonviolent is violent. I, I just, violence is a part of nature as well. So when we get too caught up in rules and boundaries and things like that, like I said earlier, we have trouble with being dynamic. So, um, I want us to slow down and just look at what's true, what aligns with what feels to be true, rather than making decisions based on fear or self-doubt. Look for, and this requires some education, because you've got to learn about things like, well, in my opinion, at least, I think it's important to understand the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, understanding things like the 7 hermetic principles. It's very helpful because these are rules that you don't have anything to do with. They just are, gravity just is. um, Rhythm just is. Correspondence, as within, so without, as above, so below. This just is. Right. So when you keep all of these things in mind, just like you would not walk off the edge of a roof with nothing to catch you because gravity's going to slam you into the ground.
Mhm.
You keep these things in mind that we already know are immutable laws of the universe, and then you reduce the amount of trouble you get into.
I appreciate that. And what it also makes me think of is, just as you're saying, you believe it's important to be aware of universal principles, universal truths. I also feel it's important to be aware of collective conditionings and distortions and the impact of collective conditioning on the individual experience. And that's something that through our racism work together, it's helped me to look at it through the lens of sexism.
Mm.
Looking at the container of sovereignty and why I specifically created it as a container for women, because yes, we are all human beings struggling with, similar forms of conditioning. And yet there's something very specific about the conditioning of gender and the particular flavors of disempowerment that it places upon us if we identify with that gender. And something that's been so liberating and helpful is, one layer is acknowledging like, oh, I'm a woman and I have fear or, anxiety around speaking truth to a man. So that's one thing. And then if you're a woman who's, done doing her work for a while, then there can be the added layer. And I have shame for the fact that I'm struggling with this thing that I don't think that I should be struggling with.
Yes.
And the realization of there's a collective experience that is being blueprinted into me as I speak that
Yeah.
is beyond my individual experience. And if I can come into awareness of this, one, I can have more compassion
Yes.
for myself and look at it as something that is not me, but is something that I am currently just required to be in relationship with because it's here. So
Yes.
how can I have power and choice and influence?
Yes. And what does power and choice and influence look like?
To me, it's about being able to recognize, like when I'm experiencing shame or fear or guilt or some other type of contractive energy within me,
Mhm.
recognizing what it feels like as a sensation in my body and learning how to actually become curious and realize that something is happening that I can be in relationship with, as opposed to allowing I would call it the tripwire of, oh, I'm experiencing a certain type of sensation or a certain threshold of sensation, which in the past I've had a bad experience or I have an
Mhm.
idea about where this might go.
Mhm.
So to me, it's about learning how to be in relationship with that sensation and the energy
Right.
that it's cultivating and choosing what do I want to do with this energy and how do I want to respond to it.
It's driving instead of riding in the back seat.
Hmm. Yeah. It makes me think of the experience of my dad teaching me how to ride a two-wheeler bike. And I remember when he took me out to the track, I'd never ridden a two-wheeler before, and he would push the bike from behind and he was holding on to it. And then when he would let it go, there would be a point where I'd freak out and I'd just throw my hands off it and I'm gonna crash.
Gosh, perfect.
Yep.
And then guess what? You're still here to tell the story. And I bet you after a couple of times doing that, you stop doing it,
Mhm.
right? Perfect analogy.
Yep.
So this is your first big course,
Yeah.
right?
I've actually this is probably the sixth group.
Well, what is it about this one?
Oh, well, a few things. First of all, this is the first container where I'm not limiting it to just a group of 6 to 8 people. Usually I'll work with a smaller group of people so I can have really intimate touches with all of them. And I've
Yeah.
created a thing where more people can be a part of it and it's still a highly interactive experience. So that's one piece. And then I would say the other piece around sovereignty is that to me, sovereignty is something that I will come into greater and deeper relationship with every day and every moment until the day that I leave this plane.
Mhm.
And it feels like something that's both very powerful and also requires an immense amount of, yes, I'm holding this, and I also know nothing.
Are you holding this?
Well, I've created the I've created the structure of the container. And then as each woman comes into this space, the energy of her intention and her presence and her desire weaves an essential aspect into the container that we are all experiencing together.
Yes. So
So go ahead.
it could be, and how many women are you capping this at?
I'm open. I'm allowing for each woman to enroll and seeing what it is that she's bringing into the space.
What if you get 100 people?
I'm capping it at 77. The large.
Right. So let's say you get 77 people, and your perspective is that you've created this container. And what I hear you saying is that this is a collaboration with the 77 women.
Yes. Would it be better to say that this container was birthed through me?
I don't know. Would it be closer to the truth?
I would say that this container uh, is something that I was guided to help birth into existence. I will be guiding and facilitating uh, the the incremental journey that we are going on together, and I'm allowing for each week to determine the next location that we go into.
That's good. That's a very feminine model. And are you, how did you receive your instructions?
Intuitive guidance, sitting in ritual, asking.
Beautiful. And you trust that the source was legit?
Yeah,
Do you trust that source more than you trust yourself?
I feel that one can't exist without the other.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm constantly fine tuning.
Good. That's the spot. Because all of the fear, the anxiety, the bashfulness, the wanting to sort of reserve a little bit to be safe, that thing is the little girl who doesn't know source very well yet. She's she's still in the early days of being in a body and is still learning basics. But you are also an adult woman who has a lot of life experience. You've had a relationship with source for however long you've had a relationship with source. That trust should be comfort. And I believe there's a way that you can be optimally invested in what you're doing and at the same time not be attached.
Yep. That's the dance that I've been feeling, is being in easeful and obvious devotion
Mhm.
and simultaneously having no attachment or agenda about what the final outcome looks like, and being willing to let the sandcastle be washed away by
Yeah.
the sea.
So like if I were a master architect and I had a track record, a lifelong track record of buildings that are both beautiful and uh, long lasting, and you needed a building built, and you came to me and said, help me to build this building, I'm going to be building the building, not you.
Mhm.
It's your building. You paid for it. It's going to have your name on it. You're going to decide who comes in it and out of it. It's going to be up to you to see that people come in and out of it and that there's something inside of it for people to have.
But I don't own it.
You kind of do.
It feels more like being a steward of
Yeah,
it.
that's all that we can ever do anyway. We don't really own anything. You know, there are things that are put in our hands to be responsible for that are really, no matter what it is, meant to be used for the greater good.
It's liberate. I can feel the liberation of releasing attachment
Yeah.
and control.
It's a way to take risks while also understanding that the risk is really limited, you know, and temporary. And whatever the potential loss is, first of all, if the loss is greater than the potential gain, then why are you doing it? Why would you devote yourself to that? So if you are clear that the gain is greater than the loss, significantly and enough to make sense, then if you only put half yourself in, then that's all you're going to get out. And if you have the gift of vision, this is where it gets challenging. If you have great vision and you see something larger than what you know experientially to be your predictable capacity or what you've been able to do in the past, it means that you're going to be doing some things in some ways that maybe you haven't done before, or you're going to be transmitting at a level of power that you haven't transmitted before. The anxiety of that is useless.
Meaning, if that's what you're going to be doing, just become comfortable with it being uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it's natural that it would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If I have to explain this to people all the time. People don't want to talk about race. People do not. I don't want to talk about race. Come on, let's be honest.
I like talking about
that. It's heavy and it's not pleasant because we live in a racist country. I don't talk about it because I like it. I don't talk about it because I think every person who is within the capacity to hear me is going to actually hear me or agree. I don't talk about it for personal gain or to impress anyone. Mm-hmm. I talk about it because I have a 23-year-old Black son who every day goes out into this world and every day is assaulted by this thing. I would die to end that. I will talk about this until that's not his reality anymore. Whether I can guarantee that what I say or do has done any good, and I will do my best to educate myself and continue to educate myself so that I can continue to do it better and better and better. And that's how you become a master of anything, is you keep doing it. You fall off the bike, you get back on it. Keep your hands on the handlebars the next time. Simple. You keep going, right? And so, falling is a part of it. Oh my gosh, when my son was in middle school, he was so into like parkour and skateboarding and all this shit that just freaked me all the way out. Because all I could think of was broken arms and necks and ankles. And I mean, he's like jumping, scaling buildings like Spider-Man. I was like, you're crazy. I don't like this. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Mom, I love this. It actually gives me life. It makes me excited. It makes me feel powerful that I can look at a hardscape, and I can navigate it no matter what is there, whatever obstacle, I can navigate it. I'm like, whoa, I hadn't even thought of it that way, but that is powerful. But what if you fall? Because if I fall, I'll get up and I'll try it again till I get it right. This idea that you can scale the heights without risk, there is no such thing. If you get in an airplane, there's risk. If you walk out your front door, there's risk. There's always risk. This is risky right here. And I don't do it a lot. But I do it when I do it to be of service because I believe in that. I believe in this work enough to embarrass myself, enough to deal with the criticism I get. I get criticism all the time. There are people who think I'm crazy on every range of the spectrum. What's funny about that is I've always thought myself that I'm a little crazy.
Well, what I'm thinking is that you are crazy and I'm crazy. And
Yeah.
thank God, thank Goddess.
Yes. And now that I understand a little better what happens when someone gets triggered by my crazy, is that, oh, well, what we're talking about here is disrupting homeostasis. Change is a disruption of homeostasis. So if you are an agent of change, you are a disruptor. There's no way around that. You are a disruptor. Disruption is not comfortable, and some people don't want it for various reasons. There are people who don't want it. There are people who aren't ready for it. And what I say to them is it's okay. You let them be. Don't take it personally. And in those moments where you're going to slip and you're going to say something or do something that you want to go back and correct, then just do it. It's a no-brainer for me with this work I'm doing because it is important. I know it. I feel it in my bones for myself, for my son, for all the other people, for everyone actually, for even the people that, for white people. I mean, this is work that I can look at whatever sacrifices I'm making to do it and say, it's worth it. It's right now worth it. Every person I touch is worth it.
I agree with that. I'm so deeply grateful for the space that you create and the other teachers that you bring in. And I know for my own personal experience of going through your course and then doing one-on-one work with you after George Floyd was murdered, through being in deeper relationship with this truth in my body, I've felt more power and freedom and resiliency and connection in my life because of it.
Yeah, there's a psychic jail we're in. It's like if we are stuck in this state of mind where we feel like we cannot speak, we cannot learn, we cannot change, we cannot even talk about change without people calling you divisive, you know, or a troublemaker, or whatever people want to call you. So then we're stuck. We're stuck. And guess what? Nature is never stuck. So what does that do? It pulls us out of alignment with nature and creates dissonance and chaos and insanity.
Yeah.
So it's more insane to not be a little bit crazy, to be so controlled that you can accomplish nothing.
And experience a whole bunch of disconnection from the world around you.
Yes, completely disconnected.
Yeah.
I'd rather take the chance.
Yeah. And that practice that that you learn through not learned, but really ingrained through working with you of just, when you're out of alignment, just tell the truth and restore integrity, and I did that this past week. And, it was scary. Like it
Mhm.
was definitely because, speaking the truth to the best of my ability in a way that's not guarding the place where I made a mistake or could have done something better.
Mhm.
And also not, self-deprecating and just like going into, but just like owning in a vulnerable way and being honest. And,
Yeah,
you know,
the only way to disrupt this paradigm where everybody has to be perfect or you get punished is to allow yourself to be seen as imperfect and then correct yourself.
oh God, it feels so much better that way.
That's it.
And I just get to be me.
You just get to be you,
Mhm.
and you are exactly what is needed. That's it.
Thank you for the reminder, Bridge.
So, how does this all relate to obedience?
Mm. Well, I loved that word that you utilized it last week. And to me, it feels related to the way you've described being an unconditional love
Mm,
with purpose.
yeah.
And, you've asked me, a few sessions ago, like, are you a sub? And I responded, no, but I want to be. Because there's, the thing in me that has such a desire to fully open and be in devotion to the thing.
Yeah.
And then, there's also the part of me that is in resistance
Yeah.
to devotion to the thing. And, part looking at the conditioning of being a woman who doesn't want to submit to anything and wants to be powerful and independent. And and then also being with the fear of really surrendering control to something greater than me and trusting that I will survive and even thrive in
It's
the
a
process.
divorce. It's a letting go of all these superficial paradigms, just surrendering them, even when it feels shitty to do so. Just surrendering them and knowing that if you devote yourself completely to something worthwhile, you cannot be more powerful than that.
Yeah. I believe that that is the practice of
Y-
continually tapping into that location where it becomes the homeostasis.
Yes. Well, I don't think the homeostasis is a thing. I think we should move in cycles.
Mm.
You have resting places in your life and in your cycles, and you're constantly. We are capable of unlimited expansion. I mean, just think like on a physical level about how hundreds of years have gone. How many? When was the first Olympics? Who knows?
I don't know.
Thousands of years ago, probably. Thousands of years have passed, and human beings keep surpassing what the bodies of the human beings in the past did.
Yeah.
We're capable of unlimited expansion. And so if we have the blessing to have an opportunity to devote ourselves to something worthwhile, what's possible there is the experience of true abundance.
Mm.
Because what happens when you empty yourself out is you realize you're never empty.
Well, it's
You just
constantly flowing through you. It's an acknowledgement of our divinity,
hmm
that we are not separate, and all these stories of unworthiness and brokenness and not enoughness,
Yeah.
realizing, wow, I've actually in some way become attached or addicted to these ideas because it's
Mhm.
felt comfortable and safe in here.
Yeah.
And when I face those, to me, when I meet those places where they can still exist within me, it feels like this. It feels like thick molasses being pulled through my system, and this like deep grief of just the releasing of that from my system. I can feel it now as I'm describing it. Um, and
Yeah, for
the
me, when
possibility.
to open
Mhm.
myself up, it was like, in hindsight, I felt like I had been like a supernova in a sardine can, like just held in and feeling like nothing was ever, none of my outcomes were ever what I wanted them to be or what I could imagine them to be. And I realized that it was because I wasn't completely giving myself over
Yeah.
for various reasons, sometimes because the thing wasn't worth it.
Well,
So the more you're willing to do that, the more, this is going to sound corny and superficial, but whatever, the more success you will have
yeah,
in every way.
yeah. And again, to me, it comes back to that the willingness to be in the body and trust in self, because that's a lot of energy
Mhm.
that's flowing through the body. And to let go of control or the idea of control to allow for a greater power and truth to flow through
Mhm.
is a deeply courageous thing.
Kinda, but that's temporary. I think that the more you do it, the more you realize, oh, I can see better out here. I can see what's happening outside. I can see what's happening inside. I can kind of adjust myself in real time to what I need to adjust myself to, rather than just being right here with the walls right here.
Well, that's like, I agree with you. And that's the thing. I feel like there are these moments where we reach a new level or
Yeah.
we're moving into a new unknown territory. Like it makes me think of what you were saying. It's like, uh, let yourself enjoy this sensation that you're feeling right now because you're never going to experience this type of sensation in this way again.
Mhm.
And I appreciated that perspective shift on the discomfort of this different and new form of aliveness.
So today, where are you with your feeling preparedness, your preparedness for this course? Where's your head now? Where's your heart?
I feel more clear.
Mhm.
I feel I feel even more I feel more in integrity because I feel more revealed in my own truth. And to me, that's the most trustworthy space that I feel I can be, both for myself and for other people. And
So let's just test this for a second.
okay.
Close your eyes for a moment. Let's bring up the little one. How's she feeling?
The first thing that I noticed is that she's just kind of like watching with a like watching in the back seat with like a curious, like pleasant smile on her face.
Good.
Like,
Give her a popsicle or
I think
something.
she has some ice cream.
Juice box. What do you have to say to her?
And the first thing that came up is like, "Hi, sweet one. Are you having a good time?"
Yes. That's good.
Yeah.
Let her just have a good time.
Mm.
You handle the rest. You and the creator
Mhm. We're dancing together.
and your 77 women
Yeah.
and me and the other teachers. And you're pretty well held.
I feel really well held and kind of deeply turned on by the other people who are coming to teach in this course, carrying some really beautiful transmissions. And thank you for being one of them.
I'm imagining also that this is a course that will draw people who are ready and willing.
That's the gorgeous thing that I'm seeing about because everyone fills out an intake form upon coming in, and I'm really just noticing the common thread being that these are women who've been committed to their work for a while, and that there's a very nuanced area of, the energetics that
Beautiful.
I'm wanting to work with, and that's really where I have a desire to work and play and
That's
explore.
awesome.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yes.
I'm not worried about you.
Thank you. I'm not either.
That's a high five then.
Thank you, love.
I love you.
I love you too. Talk to you soon.
We done?
We did perfect timing. I'm going to stop recording now and then we can say goodbye. Hold on.
Bye, everyone.